T.C.S. Cerberus. Captain Report 2681.76. We are clear of Ella system and are on our way to the Talos system. Now I know you are surprised as much as I am that not only are there so many sects running around, but that the big bugs are present as well. Intel is still attempting to ascertain the strength of the enemy fleet. It's also a crapshoot as to their intent. We are working currently on the assumption that the aliens are attempting a backdoor invasion of Confed space. The direction of the offensive is an unknown, but if allowed to take Sol, they could disrupt nearly all chains of command and allow for any number of other threats to surface. I'm talking Kilrathi radicals, pirates, organized mercs, and terrorists, the like of which set off that explosion on the Terran shipyard Arcology. Now, I don't want that to happen, and I think you don't want that to happen. Your exemplary work at Ella helps us move forward with our plans on avoiding such a situation from arising. Maintaining the security of that sector will be a great help in allowing for Intel to establish a secure base of operations. I think we have gone a long way in proving the Confederation was correct in not pursuing the drone fighter program. We're moving into Talos now, folks. This place is supposed to swarm. If it does, we're going to have to put out our bug zappers in overdrive and proceed with some major swatting. I have a strong feeling that we'll be paying a visit to the Talos station and helping out the friendly forces stationed there. Through Talos, we should be able to gain entry to the Cygnus system. A very important push is ahead of us. Good luck and Godspeed.
From a Major Terrence 0 Hearn. Subject: a possible situation.
This is not good. I'm sure you've checked out the standard news feed regarding the privateers, mercs, pirates, and non-aligned corporations poking their collective noses into the alien wreckage floating around the sectors we've recently been through. I remember watching the flat vid of marine engagements inside the alien craft and checking out data on the initial research into the composition of the alien ships, and I'm really worried about what people are going to take from them. I mean, they're going to get their hands on the tech one way or another. I'm mainly worried about what will happen after the tech touches their hands. With the Kilrathi, we had known mechanical systems that function pretty much like our own. But this is like trying to analyze double helix info streams without the correct harmonic filters. These ships are organic in nature. How they function, or what their structural makeup is in any given state, is still up for speculation. I don't know. Maybe it's nothing. But I'm contacting my father and seeing if he knows anything about any possible contaminants that could pose a threat upon physical contact with the ships.
Informational Supplement 36GA42F Section 1. Classification R2. Authorized personnel only. Contents: partial transcript of General Assembly hearings on theoretical analysis of alien intent. General Assembly abstract. Key members of Assembly regard statements of representatives from Hurston Dynamics, Ginter and Combine, Bardic Industries, T.C.S., and T.C. Scientific Organization. Extract from Dr. Jacob Hildreth's address to the committee.
Dr. Hildreth, your statement.
Of course. Esteemed Assembly members and representatives of Confederation interests, my work since the activation of the Cerberus has been centered around the examination of the alien invasion. With the help of T.C.S., T.C. Military, and Corporate AL, we are attempting to piece together a comprehensive analysis. Allow me to preface any comments I have with the fact that I am not a military strategist by trade. The initial theories we have are based purely on an objective analysis.
And what are your findings?
Not conclusive as of yet. The patterns present within the alien strike plan indicate that the losses incurred were unimportant to the success or failure of their, hereto unknown, purpose. The sheer number of alien fighters encountered in the initial conflict lead the Confederation to the assumption of a major strike force attempting simple conquest of Confederation space. However, this assumption has been determined by our initial findings to be premature and short-sighted.
Are you saying that the Terran Confederation acted in error? Seems like we scared them back to their space, whatever their intention.
No, our action was reasonable, merely enacted in haste and almost purely reactive. We mobilized our forces and focused them solely on the area the initial alien fleet was detected. With the discovery of another alien force even larger than the first, we can only assume that whatever our success, the Confederation was effectively distracted from detecting the movement of other alien forces.
Dr. Hildreth at this point referenced hollowed examples of the alien invasion and the possible weak points of Confederation influence. This example may be viewed pending commanding officer approval and completion of 36 GI-42F JJ-17F request form.
As is plainly visible, we were corralled into these systems and left other possible entry points unsupervised. Granted, we did not know the potential for alien wormhole construction due to our inherent lack of information. However, the facts as they stand is that we were diverted from sensitive areas that the aliens exploited to bring in more forces.
What does this indicate to you and your team, Doctor?
Well, as I've already stated, I believe that the aliens intended to engage us in these systems and did not factor the possibility of losses. This indicates a number of possibilities, none of which should be taken as mutually exclusive, based on their surface. The first is that the aliens assumed the Kilrathi still represented the primary offensive threat and had not anticipated the strength of the Confederation's response to their incursion into our space. The second is that the aliens sought to distract our attentions in order to establish a secondary strike force that could cut its way behind the thrust of the Confederation fleet. Not anticipating such a quick elimination of their initial forces left this secondary group vulnerable to the Confederation initiative now underway. The third is the theory positing that both the alien forces we are currently encountering and the ones we have previously eliminated are part of an incredibly large alien scout group that has been sent to evaluate the strength of the modern sentient in this section of the galaxy. Yet another suggests that the aliens had a goal in mind other than invasion, and that the forces sent in were to support that operation through the distraction and elimination of any possible interference.
Do you lean towards any of these theories?
Yes and no. I suggest that we review the following materials before I proceed.
Dr. Hildreth at this point referenced flat scan documentation. These documents may be viewed pending commanding officer approval and completion of 36 GA42F IR76B36J request form.
I wish to call a recess to allow the Assembly to review these documents at length. Quite thorough, Dr. Hildreth.
Pending clearance, further testimony will be available through this channel. From Major Carl Spider-Bowen. Subject reply. Possible situation.
The Kilrathi ships weren't all that safe to tamper with for salvage ops either. They had layers of redundant security that manifested itself in the form of anything from needle traps to self-destruct routines. It wasn't until we cracked the code surrounding initialization matrices keyed to clan data encrypted into the flight suits of Kilrathi pilots that we were able to capture fighters larger than the nuts and bolts left after a big kaboom. Personally, you wouldn't catch me anywhere near this wreckage. This is a disaster waiting to happen, as all first contact situations are. The double helix example is a valid one. When Dr. Justin, what was his name? Clang. Anyway, when he first attempted direct communication through modified hololink transmissions and ended up having his cerebellum fried by a keyed stream of later-term Medfernelli complex harmonic samples, I'm sure he thought he was prepared for anything. What the double helix only intended as a warm hello turned out to be a digital ice pick to the brain. Luckily, we managed to shift our procedural considerations to get to the problem behind the situation. It's just impossible to predict these things, and the lesson we learned from that encounter is sadly lost on the throngs of folks who want a quick alien-driven buck. I only hope we can do the same here before too many humies get scragged by their curiosity. I'll do some checking.
The doors to the Ozawa Memorial Hall on the TSY were closed for the next few days of hearings. The General Assembly has begun hearing the statements of scientists, military officials, corporate representatives, and politicians as to the varying theories surrounding the alien invasion. The question, which has haunted many since the first shots were fired in the brief conflict, is why? The aliens arrive with the seeming power to destroy us, but are suddenly shut down by our brave Confederation pilots. Why did they invade? What was their purpose? Could a race that was supposedly prophesied in Kilra the legend be so easily defeated? These questions and others are anticipated to be on the agenda of the gathered thinkers, although the hearings are classified. As soon as ISDN knows more about the conclusions and recommendation reached by the committee, we will make them available for all to consider. I'm Peter, for ISDN, Sol System Correspondent.
From Lieutenant Lance Casey, subject, reply, possible situation.
Man, I just didn't pay enough attention to those xenobiology courses in the academy. I remember as a kid watching vid after vid my father made for my mother. And for me, near the end, he was always talking about the morons in T.C.S. who were overly eager to jump into the reclamation game before knowing all the risks. I've taken that and turned it into a piece of advice to live by. If you don't know what something is, let someone else figure it out before you go trying to hand feed it. From my personal experience with these bugs, it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they left some sort of sick goo on everything they got near. I'll stick to my ship and let the scientists do the touching. Personally, I prefer to do my own research with those new chain ion guns on the live bug ships.
From Major Terrence Zero Hearn, subject, reply, Enoch Merkins.
Remember how I said I couldn't find our esteemed captain's call sign? Turns out it was Clippy. Oh right, Spider, Amazon, and Stiletto, you weren't here for the first part of this thread. I thought you might be able to provide some insight as to Captain Enoch's past. Now, before I die in this system, I want to know what the hell Clippy could be referring to.
Confederation Weapons Test Facility, Krieger Starbase, Dust Cannon Overview. This document has been provided to give an overview of process and function of the dust cannon. All information in this document is for pilot review purposes and should be considered eyes only. After review of the Coriolis report from Midway, it was determined that barrel housing replacement, heat damage and power consumption problems have improved very little with current mass driver technology. It is for this reason that the dust cannon weapon was developed for use in CIS variant craft. The new dust housing is knit together by nanobotic surfaces that prevent heat damage and are semi-restorative. Additionally, due to the small size of the projectile, barrel damage is cut to a minimum. Shrike and Wasp fighter variants have been fitted with the dust cull system. Although the Shrike's exhaust system provided ample room for the scraping mechanism, the Wasp posed a technical challenge overcome by the joint Bartok, Hurston, and Confederation researchers. Waste particles are recovered from the exhaust filter of the ship's core and cycled to a standard mass driver housing by the combination of a cull device and modified fuel feed. The result is an ammunition supply that is not limited by anything save the destruction of the ship's reactor. The dust cannon is able to deliver more firepower than the mass driver, with a faster recharge rate during continued usage. Being that the dust particle ejection unit is based upon the same principles of mass driver technology, the design provides the same system functionality from within cockpit to eliminate any orientation field training. The primary gains from the weapon are increased efficiency, self-sufficient generation of ammunition, and increased damage potential. We hope that this document has provided a clearer understanding of the dust cannon's basic design and function. If you require further information, requests should be directed at your commanding officer.
From Lieutenant Max Maestro Garrett, subject, reply, Enoch Merkins.
Clippy? You mean I'd been afraid of getting chewed out by a freak who liked being called Clippy? Was he a barber?
The memorial service for Commodore Blair yesterday evening was a stellar success. It felt more like a celebration of the freedoms given to us by his heroic acts than the somber farewell to a fallen warrior. The festivities were held in New York City and Hightower Flats on Nephilah. HoloLink testimonials from as far as the Repleta and Avalon systems were heard, painting the picture all would wish to remember of Commodore Blair. The Nephilese Council did announce their plans to turn the farm Blair bought at the end of the Kilrathi War as a historical site. His home will be converted into a museum containing personal effects as well as historic memorabilia from the duration of Blair's career. Director of what has been termed the Heart of the Tiger Memorial and Museum of Military History, Bushio Jayagun, is stated as saying,
"We look forward to visitors and citizens of Nephilah visiting the museum and gaining a deeper understanding of the commitment and sacrifice shown by not only Commodore Blair, but the millions who gave their lives in search of an end to hostile conflict. This will stand as not only a memorial to the memory of a great man, but to the potential all sentient beings have to resolve even the deepest and most critical conflicts through a reliance on the pure mediators of truth and justice."
Some criticism has been leveled against the Council of Nephilah in regards to the appropriateness of a Commodore Blair memorial on their world. Blair only spent a short time on the world between the end of the Kilrathi War and the border world Blacklands conflict he also helped resolve. Director Jayagun pointed out that the only significant time Blair spent as an adult that was not aboard a military carrier or station was at the Terran Confederation Naval Space Academy. Jayagun then added,
"Even though his time on Nephilah was brief, this was the world he turned to when he wanted a home. We honor his decision, his memory, and his foresight with this small gesture of respect."
The surviving members of the group The Love Animals played a selection of music from the tour attended by then Major Blair in 2669. Uelith, the enigmatic founder of the Lovi Animals, made this statement.
"Although I'm opposed to violence in any form it might take, I cannot deny that the actions Blair took in his life made possible the widespread distribution of our musical vision. I only hope our frequencies can tap the spectrum of the eternal and reach his noble spirit."
The major surprise of the night was the appearance of the reclusive Saronya Carr, famed star of the popular movie series, Luna Jones, Jump Scout. Although scheduled to appear, the actor has not made a public appearance in nearly 5 years. Greeted by a warm round of applause, the lovely Saronya was resplendent in a full-length gown made of rare nano-optic fibers, which swirled in colors shifting upon the complementary lighting that bounced off of its surface. Although tabloid rumors had placed her in a disheveled state of self-induced depression, there was no indication of that at the memorial. She acted as MC for the rest of the affair, but not before saying a few words. Carr, now 50, made the following comments.
"When I was 25, I was given the opportunity to visit a particular carrier. I leapt at the chance. I didn't care which it was or where it was. I did not know it was to be the Tiger's Claw, and that the lieutenant who would give me a ride in my first fighter would be a young Christopher Blair. He was a noble, quiet soul, with a sense of duty that inspired the change in direction we took with Luna Jones. Although our relationship was brief, he filled me with a respect for the pilots who protect our interests every time they put their hand on the stick. I knew this man was special, and that he would go on to great things. Little did I know that he would be regarded as a hero of such greatness, and that he would deserve every word of praise offered tonight. Now with my daughter's up and coming debut in Reva Jones, Daughter of Destiny, I only hope we can recapture the verve and patriotic spirit of the previous films without being crushed by the shadow of our species' most important hero. He will be missed, but not forgotten. Goodbye, Chris. May the world live up to the example you have set."
She then went on to introduce a long line of speakers, each of whose words were as memorable as the ones before. A complete transcript of the event is available in ISDN archives. I'm Rory with ISDN, Soul System Correspondent.
From Major Carl Spider-Bowen. Subject, reply Enoch Merkins.
I remember talk about this guy from way back in the academy. No one calls him Clippy if they enjoy being conscious. Not sure why either. I'll check around.
Personal log 2681.77. We all knew this was more serious than it seemed after our first engagement. Now we know it is as bad as our time on the Midway. The thing that really confuses me is that if the bugs had gotten so many ships through our defenses, why they didn't just hit us from both sides. We would have folded faster than Zero in poker. Maybe their hive mind mentality runs on single tracks. Maybe they can't chew gum and walk at the same time. Something tells me no. I'm glad we were able to make a distinct difference in Ella. If I thought that those bugs were going to be able to take the system after our departure, I never would be able to live with myself. I just hope that their pilots remain just as predictable. If these were Kilrathi flying those ships, we'd be in for one hell of a fight. Hopefully their genetic experiments on civilians and pilots they took during the first push won't be used against us. If they could incorporate elements of our flying style against us, well, best to not think about it. This feels like the best of times on the Midway, a steamroller on our way to the heart of the problem. Now, I'm not letting two limited engagement actions in systems that are supposed to be long way from the central conflict give me a false sense of security. I'm sure there are tougher bugs waiting for us. I'm just glad we've been thinking up to this point. The captain says Talos is a key step for us in maneuvering towards a Cygnus system. There are supposed to be more sects there. Oh, great. I'm thrilled.